This is a MINI Countryman, or to be more accurate about it, this is my MINI Countryman. Now the reason I own this car is very straightforward. I have a daughter and she's starting to grow, which meant that she could no longer fit in the back of my Mini Cooper S hatchback. So I needed something bigger to accommodate that situation. And that's a bit of a problem for a manufacturer that only builds sort of like one style of car, like Mini used to do, you know, a little three-door hatchback, because your customers' lives are going to change at some point. They're going to have relationships, get married, buy a dog, have children, whatever it is. And if all you build is a small three-door hatchback, then what are they going to do when they need a bigger car? Of course, they're going to leave the brand. Hence the reason why Mini built the Countryman. But even this is a little bit of a problem, because despite it being sort of like a five-door car, it's still the Mini, it's still quite small. And she hasn't stopped growing. And the problem now is she has friends who are doing exactly the same. So what can Mini do to make sure that people like me remain loyal to their brand? Well, they can build a bigger Countryman. And they have. And this is it. The Countryman is now not so much Mini, but very much maxi. And this time, it's gone all electric. Welcome to this week's road test review, welcome to the new MINI Countryman E, and as always, welcome to AutoEV. Now, before we get started on this week's road test review of the new MINI Countryman E, is of course that time where I'm going to ask you to make sure that you're subscribed to the AutoEV channel. Then once you've done that, press the little bell button down below, because that's where you get a notification of when our next video is uploaded and it's gone live. Once you've watched it, if you do enjoy it, then make sure you give it a thumbs up, and of course, don't forget, leave me your thoughts in the comment section down below. Let me know what you think about the cars review, such as the new MINI Countryman E, and of course, on the AutoEV channel as a whole. Now, there's going to be people out there who look at my car, my Countryman, and go, that's not a proper Mini. And they'd be correct if they lived in 1967. Because bear in mind, it's now 23 years since BMW relaunched the Mini as a brand in itself. And as I say, whilst it started with that little three-door hatchback, the company has grown. And of course, now we've got some brand new models. In fact, this year we're going to see an awful lot change with the Mini brand. We've got the new sort of like three-door hatch, which is now just going to be called the Cooper. That's it, so it's Mini and Cooper. That's the three-door. And then of course there's a small sort of like five-door kind of crossover, which is probably very similar in sort of like size and genre to my Countryman, which is now called the Aceman. No, I don't really like the name either, but there we go. And then this is the largest of them all, the new Countryman, which is very much sort of like a medium-sized sort of like SUV crossover. And whilst it has grown in stature and size, remember, Mini itself has grown as a brand. In fact, Mini is now the brand rather than a singular product. And of course, those are the cars within it: Cooper, Aceman, and of course, Countryman. But is it a proper Mini? However, before we start the road test review, let's take a quick look at what the new MINI Countryman is all about. Well, the car is built on the BMW Group's UKL2 platform that also underpins the BMW X1 and X2 ranges. It is the first Countryman to be available as a fully electric model. It is also the first Mini to be built in Germany. It has a 64.7 kilowatt-hour battery capable of delivering up to 286 miles on the WLTP combined cycle. And prices start from just over £42,000 for the Countryman E up to just over £47,000 for the Countryman SE before any options are fitted. So this is Mini entering a market space that's already very full of very talented competition, albeit cars that maybe lack a little bit of fun and charisma, something that's been real trademarks of the Mini brand so far. So can that fun and charisma translate into a much larger, more, dare I suggest, sensible type of family car? Well, of course, there's only one way we're going to find out, and that's by putting it through the road test that actual car buyers trust when it comes to choosing their next electric car, the AutoEV one. The AutoEV road test review is brought to you in partnership with Anderson EV, the premium home charging unit that is born, bred and built in the UK, and that comes with an industry-leading 7-year warranty. It's the charging unit for those of you that love your home as much as your car. Right, Let's start with styling, because in some ways it is probably the most controversial aspect of the new Countryman. But in fairness, I think the Countryman as a model has endured a bit of controversy, you know, since the first model, since my car came out, the R60, because they say it's the car that sort of like people see the Mini badge on it and go, well, that's not what a Mini's about. But as I say, remember, you've got to get your head away from the fact that Mini being a singular product, it's now a brand and it has models within that brand range. And as I say, remember, it's got to keep those customers. So whilst you love the little 3-door hatchback, which I'm also road testing here today, we've got to be sensible and think, well, what if that doesn't suit your needs? You're going to need something bigger. So can they translate that sort of like small, cute-ish, and I hate using that word, but Mini styling into a much larger car? It is tricky, but there are elements of it that's very kind of Mini-like. But I do think what they've done, and sensibly, they've kind of moved away from trying to make a 5-door Mini SUV, if that makes sense. They've decided they're not going to try and make it look like an old Mini, they're going to make it look like just its own car in its own right. And I think that is the right decision. Whether you like it or not, that's for another argument. Let me know in the comments below. But what we've got here is the sort of like the new Mini face. And as I say, there's a lot of new models coming out from Mini. As I say, we've got the Countryman, we've got the new Coupe, and of course there's going to be the Aceman as well. So, singular kind of framed grille, this kind of, I don't know, it's a kind of octagonal kind of grille that goes round the front of the car. It's obviously not a grille because, well, it's just filled in plastic there, isn't it? You've got your radar kind of sensor in here, and there's a lot of tech on the car. So there's a lot more kind of sophisticated bits and pieces on this car than maybe you've ever thought of coming from a Mini before, which is good because, as I say, most people now kind of expect this, especially in this sort of class of car, if you like, this kind of sector of sort of like mid-size SUV crossover. You've got your nice kind of Mini badge, which is now simplified, just with the Mini where the kind of wings spreading out. But the bonnet's just a kind of standardised bonnet. You know, it's not a kind of clamshell that sort of like fits around the lights or things like that, like my one does. It's a standardised bonnet, and that's going to keep production costs down a little bit as well, remember. You've got these kind of, I don't know really what they are, they're kind of squared off, kind of ringed kind of headlights. Now this really distinguishes it from the Cooper, which is much more kind of oval and, dare I suggest, much more kind of Mini-like that you've been used to. So again, it's that kind of sort of like squared off, kind of sort of like daytime running light round a sort of like a single LED headlamp that's in there, with obviously turn indicators there as well. This has got the kind of bronze kind of package sort of like round it, so the Mini badge and this here. It sits quite nice with this British Racing Green paintwork, I have to admit. I do quite like that. And of course it's got that kind of Mini-esque thing about it with the two-tone, which Mini was always kind of, you know, that was always something we always thought of with Mini. So you get the green with the black roof on this particular one, so that's quite nice too. As I say, some tech there, just down here, and then obviously all your cooling is down at the bottom here, so obviously airflow coming in here. Now, you can also get the Countryman with a combustion engine. So like its BMW compatriots that the platform, it shares the platform with, the X1 and the X2, you can get this with piston engine as well. Now I have road tested the petrol engine Countryman, but that's on another channel called House of Cars. So if you're interested in looking at you're not interested in electric cars, you want to see what the petrol engine one is like, you need to head over to House of Cars, where I've road tested that car there, and that was the John Cooper Sport version there. Anyway, I'm digressing. So yeah, so the front end is very kind of big, it's very kind of squared off, it's very chiselled, it's not very Mini-like, but as I say, I think that's a good thing. I think they've moved away from that to give it its own brand distinction, if you like. Now as we move around the side, you can see where sort of like how much the car has grown. I think it's about just under ½ a metre longer than my Countryman. So it really has grown in stature. As I say, it's not really Mini anymore, it's very much maxi. But as I say, that's obviously to compete with other cars that, you know, that are of similar price, which dare I suggest were a lot more practical than my Countryman, and that's my point. That's what they've done. They've tried to make the Mini practical in that sense. There's two versions basically. There's a Countryman E, which this car is, which is a single motor car, and then there's a Countryman SE, which is a dual motor car. Now we'll go on to the sort of like the batteries and the spec and the power and all the rest of it a wee bit later on. But obviously within that you can then have sort of like different sort of like trim levels and so forth like that. 19-inch alloy wheels, which look huge on my car, but look, you know, sort of like just right on this car here, which I do quite like. They're a nice sort of like designer wheel here. Ubiquitous sort of like black plastic kind of wheel arch. Not extensions, but wheel arch sort of like guards, if you like, with the little kind of indentations in it. And again, like the front, this real kind of chiselled kind of sort of like side sculpture at the side, the wing there. big door mirrors mounted there on the door itself. Flush door handles now, you don't get the big kind of chunky handles, flush door handles. And as I said before, remember you've got almost that kind of floating roof section. We've got the black roof with the sort of the blacked out pillars to make it look like that, and that kind of just reduces the kind of visual bulk of the car. Down at the bottom you've got obviously the kind of the black plastic sill protection, and obviously this kind of, again, that kind of bronze trimmed in there, which I quite like. Funny enough, I don't like that bronze trim on the BMWs, but on the Mini I think it looks slightly different. I mean, it's more of a kind of champagne colour, and I do like that. That's nice, especially on the green, it looks good. This is the only bit I'm not 100% sure of, is this little bit here, this little C-pillar section here. This bit, it's almost like it's kind of melted from the roof and just kind of dripped down in here. It's not the full window at the back there, it's just the, I think it's designed to kind of reduce the size of that kind of visual rear space there, but I'm not sure about that personally. I don't know if I'm a big fan of that, but there we go, that's there, that's what it is. And I say, if you have it, say like the more kind of sporty version like you see on House of Cars with the red, the black with the red roof, and this is red here with the John Cooper Works logo in it. So yeah, anyway, that's not my cup of tea. Integrated gloss black roof rails. Obviously, if you need to carry more, you need to put cross, roof bars on it for a roof box, then obviously you can do that. And then you're into quite sort of like a long sort of like rear end. The overhang doesn't look that particularly big, but I'd say it just feels like a big kind of rear wing here. And of course, this lovely big sort of like extending roof spoiler that goes right out over the sort of rear window of the car. So again, as I said, you can see the car has grown in stature. You can see that it's much more sort of like, in tune with the rest of the cars that sort of like it's going to compete with in this class. But yeah, as I say, Mini has gone maxi. Now the rear of the car is probably the most controversial aspect of it in some respects, and it's probably the part of the car that I'm still not quite 100% sure of. I prefer it the more I spend time with it. So when I first drove the petrol engine car for House of Cars, I was like, oh, I don't know if I like that or not. But actually now that I've sort of like spent time with this car, I do quite like it. It's kind of growing on me. Now the rear lights are designed to be more like sort of like the original Mini's lights. So these upright lights which are pushed right out to the sides there, so they don't come into the tailgate, allowing a really practical big size tailgate. They still have the Union Jack pattern in them, but you can customise that. You can change that if you don't like it, which is quite cool actually, in fairness. I do like that idea. And because that is all about Mini, isn't it? Personalisation, changing things how you like it. So that's quite cool that you can do that. As I say, you've got that big rear roof spoiler, and it kind of wraps around at the side there, down the sides of the windows. And of course your rear wiper. High set rear high level brake light, the big Mini badge, Countryman emblazoned across the back there. That's not the boot release like it is on mine. The boot release is tucked under the tailgate there. I don't know whether it'd been quite nice to see that as the tailgate release or not, not sure. But anyway, it just means you get your hand dirty underneath there. Little reverse camera there, standard. We'll talk about standard equipment later on. Parking sensors as you'd expect. That kind of champagne finish trimmed down at the bottom there, that kind of rear under tray with the integrated reverse light. Okay, what do we think? Well look, as I say, it's not going to be everyone's cup of tea. And as I say, I've never been the biggest fan of the styling of the Countryman, even as I say my own car. As I say, it was bought for a practicality reason rather than an aesthetics reason. That's not to say that I don't like it now, and as I say, that's what's happened here. It has grown on me the more that I've seen it and seen them out and about on the road. But I say it has grown into a much bigger car. Many call this charismatic simplicity the new design language, and it's probably more evident in the Cooper, in the hatchback, where you can see sort of like, where they've simplified it but made it very much the character of the original Mini. That's quite difficult to do in a big sort of like crossover slash SUV like the new Countryman is. But I think they've done well, in fairness, and I do think it's going to be a popular car for them. But look, as I say, I'm a Mini driver and I'm quite ingrained into the brand. What do you think? Would you buy this over something like a Kia Niro, for instance, because that's the sort of like similar size of car, or a Hyundai Kona maybe, or a Volvo EX30, or a Smart #1? Would you choose the Mini Countryman? Why would you choose the Mini Countryman? Is it because of the looks, or would it put you off? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Now, to give you an idea of sort of like how the Countryman has grown, I thought I'd put my car here next to it. So my car's just a 4-seater, as you can see. I don't have the 5-seat, the rear bench. It's got the 2 individual rear seats. The original Countryman, like this one, the R60 model, is a 350 litre boot. The middle one, which unfortunately I don't have, it'd have been great if I had the sort of the middle car here. I think it's called the F60, possibly. That has a 450 litre boot, so 100 litres bigger than this. The new car, electric tailgate, is bigger still at 460 litres, which is a good size. I mean, that's exactly sort of like, sort of like family car size, in fairness. And I do find that kind of, a struggle at times. I don't have my suitcases with me, but I certainly couldn't, because I couldn't get them in the boot of that. I could get a couple of carry-ons and things like that, but I could probably get 3 of the AutoEV suitcases in the boot of this. But as you can see, we can get a picnic hamper, camera bag, sort of like work bag here, and there's plenty of sort of like space in here. Now, it's got a 40-20-40 split rear seat. So if you fold all of the rear seats down, that takes the total capacity of the interior up to 1,450 litres. So, and again, it's like the car, it's quite upright at the back. And as I say, remember that hatchback goes right out to sort of like the extremities there. So that's quite good. So you've got it all the way out to the side. So the load area that you're loading into is quite wide. Maybe the only downside is there is quite a high loading cell. Again, you can see sort of like the height difference between the 2 cars. Mine is lowered, in fairness, but you can see the height difference there. That's quite a flat load entry. You've got quite a lip up here to get sort of suitcases into here, but still it's not bad at all. Now you've got little pockets down the side there, little maps, sort of like pockets there. You've got chrome tie-down lashes at the back there and bag hooks there, so that's quite cool. And then underneath here, the boot floor, you do have some storage for the cables and luggage net. But there's no storage up at the front of the car, because bear in mind this is also available with dual motors. So it's a front wheel drive car in a single motor, but if it's a 4-wheel drive car, then obviously you've got to have accommodate the rear motor. But still, it's class, it's ample for class, it's class average in that sense, it's where you expect it to be. But if you're coming from previous generation car, like me, an R60 for instance, that style of Countryman, and you move into this one, you're going to notice a big difference in the back, certainly. Right, look, this isn't a twin test or a comparison, but I thought it'd be an idea, if I've just shown you the boot, to show you the difference in the rear seat accommodation between my car and the new car. So look, that's my driving position, and I'm 5'8". But you can see what I'm saying about, I needed the extra space, because you can't do this with a little 3-door Mini. So again, there's ample room here. I mean, again, as I say, my car's the 4-seat, not the 5-seat car, but I've got good foot room, I've got good knee room, and I've got plenty headroom. But there's no getting away from the fact there's still quite a smallish car back here, in terms of sort of like, how close we are to the front seats. It's a small sort of like crossover / SUV style of car. Now, whilst many are saying it's not a direct replacement, if you think that the new Aceman that's coming out, the kind of small crossover, the 5-door crossover as they call it, that's pretty much what this car has become now. That's the size of the sort of like the Aceman. So as I say, the Countryman has grown substantially. But to give you an idea of comparison, that's me sitting behind me in the back of an R60 Countryman. Okay, let's jump in the new car and discuss that one now. And immediately the car feels much bigger. Okay, there's not as much sort of like legroom difference as you would maybe think, but in terms of the feeling of overall space, it is much bigger in the back of this new car. You do pretty much get a flat floor. There is a small transmission tunnel sort of like hump here, because I say, bear in mind, you can also have Countryman with a combustion engine, and then there's this little kind of storage tray here for things there. So a centre passenger is going to have to just deal with that sort of like, interrupting their foot placement. But, again, so like my situation, a 10-year-old, taking her friends and her and her friends out or whatever, you could get 3 of them in the back here. There's a way around that, and that's absolutely fine. So 3 people could sit across the back. Would you want 3 adults across the back to do a long trip? Probably not. But it's, again, you know, like the boot size, it's about right for class. You know, there aren't cars in its class that are bigger, there are cars in its class that are smaller, so it's about right for the size of car that it is. Headroom is good as well. You know, so this car's got the pan roof fitted, so as I say, headroom's all right for me, in fairness. I think if you were sort of close to the 6 foot mark, then you might just find the corner of it interrupting you a little bit, but the roof goes right sort of like behind your head, so you shouldn't have too much trouble with that. Storage, yep, you've got mat pockets on the backs of the front seats. To say, there's that little tray there. There's also door bins, which is good, you know, in the shape for water bottles at the front. Plus, you have an armrest that flips down, which obviously I don't have in my car, with two sort of like integrated cup holders there as well. Connectivity wise, two USB-C charging ports at the back of the front console, and last but not least, we talk about ISOFIX, which are really well integrated. I do like the way BMW Mini and some of the manufacturers, much better than the Stellantis group cars, you've got to pull those zips down. So I do like these just little plastic covers that flip up, and then you put the ISOFIX points in, so again, they're nice and easy to sort of like get ISOFIX seats into, you know, if you've got smaller children. And there's probably enough space if you get one of those ones that kind of, you know, turn round then to be rear facing or whatever. So, as I said, you can see how the car has grown from the original concept of Countryman. And as I say, when the new Aceman comes out, I think November 2024, they're talking about that car will come to the UK. That is probably more akin to sort of the size of my own Countryman. So that's sort of, as this car is growing, the Aceman kind of slots in and takes over from where that car is. But it's good back here, it's absolutely fine. There's certainly enough space for 3 children. There's enough space for 2, you know, sort of like normal kind of sized adults, certainly, and maybe a third, you know, if they were a bit smaller, or a child in the middle. Headroom's good, elbow room is good. There's enough stuff back here in terms of storage and connectivity. So yeah, it's pretty much as we'd expect. Nothing outstanding, but certainly nothing wrong with it. Right, up front. Now, as I say, I've driven the Countryman before. I've actually driven the Cooper as well, very briefly. So I'm looking forward to driving that later on this afternoon. And I'll also be doing a review on the petrol-engined Cooper on House of Cars. So if you're interested in looking at the petrol one, that's ones you need to look at. The channel is House of Cars, so look there. Right, I want to talk about this interior because I absolutely love this interior. Now, this is, again, probably where we talk about that design language, charismatic simplicity. In the Countryman, this is probably where it's most evident, is in the interior. The first thing I want to talk about is the materials, okay? Big message is sustainability, which if you're a regular viewer of the channel, you'll know that I'm a big fan of. I like hearing stuff like that. This is tailored knit. So this is recycled polyester. You don't get leather in the cars now. You don't get chrome on the outside either. You don't get leather. This is a sort of like a leatherette, fake leather, a pleather, whatever you want to call it. It's made from sustainable materials. And I tell you what, unless you really, really knew what you were talking about, you'd never know the difference. This is lovely, this interior. But this tailored knit I really, really like. And it is, it's texture, it's exactly what it is, it's tailored fabric. I love it, absolutely great. And then you get the plastic up a bit there, which, yeah, okay, is hard, but well screwed together. And that's all that's important as far as I'm concerned. Soft touch plastics are further down, however. You know, the armrest has got a nice kind of soft touch to it. Yeah, okay, that's a little bit harder there, but again, in this tray here, it's a rubberized bit where you can put, you know, sunglasses case, that can fit in there. There's another bit in there. The wireless charging pad for the mobile is in there. So the lower down materials, you know, yes, there are elements of them that are plastic, but I tell you what, they're really well. God, that door bin doesn't even bend when you try and move it. So it's really well screwed together. So I do like that. And then you come to this. So what they've tried to do is effectively, whilst they can't do a lot with the outside of the Countryman, making it look like the original Mini, they can with the interior, because the original Mini, and I'm talking about the old sort of like, you know, 1960s car, you had this round speedometer and then a toggle switch bar. That was it, you know, so that's effectively what you now have. And I really like it, and it works really, really well. Let me start very quickly with the physical buttons you have here. So basically you have a volume control, you have your experience toggle switches, toggle switch. Now experiences are just another word for driving modes. We'll talk about them when we go out and drive the car. Then you've got this stop start, sort of like the power key, if you like, and it's like a key, so but it's permanently in there. So it's just a kind of toggle switch you twist. So it's a twist thing. So you turn the car off, like a key or start it by turning it that way. I like that. I really like that. That's brilliant. And then here, this one here, this big toggle switch here is your gear shift. So that's your transmission. And then a P button for park. And then you've got sort of like, you know, different sort of like physical buttons here. So you get things for driver assistance and drivetrain and chassis shortcut, parking camera here. Now the parking systems on the car are unbelievable. You've got optional 360-degree parking. You can train the car to park itself in a tight spot for you. Really high tech. Maximum defrost and heated rear screen. So that's the buttons that are physically here. And then physical buttons on the steering wheel. This lovely steering wheel. They're going a little bit BMW though, Mini. Be careful, that is a slightly too thick wheel, I think. That's just a little bit too thick for me. I like the sort of like the thinner rim of my Mini. But there we go. That's, you know, that's what you get. And then you've got things like cruise control and mode on that side, and then media control on this side, and then as you'd expect, column stocks either side. So very simple, very well laid out, very clear, nice to use. Electric window switches and mirror switches on the door, and then the only other thing to talk about is the fact it has an electric boot release in the door bin here. This car's got a panoramic sunroof. I'm going to talk about trims in a second. But I want to discuss this. This is the main display here. Now, there's a lot of people, myself included, that don't like when things are really, really buried into screens. But this, I have to admit, I think works particularly well. I really like what they've done here. So this is an OLED, it's the world's first circular OLED screen in a car. It's beautifully clear and really crisp. At first, it looks like there is a lot to take in here. And in some respects there is, but it works really well when you start to sort of like get used to it. So up at the top here we've got speedo, we've got our battery range, power rating meeting here, and then we've got climate control down at the bottom there. So when you touch it, obviously you can then adjust as you see fit, you see? So it's nice and simple to use, yeah? And then you've also got sort of like, depending obviously on what's in the middle here, sorry, I touched that because I pressed this. You've got sort of like navigation or media, or your digital assistant that's called Spike, who's this little bulldog. He's cool, I like him. So you can use voice operation as well. You can use, you know, you can just sort of like say, hey, play this, you know, this particular radio station, or, you know, open window, or whatever you want to do. So you can do that as well. So that's pretty cool. So there is a lot that you can do. Weather, at your efficiency meter there as well. It's giving you a warning because I've left tailgate open, and then clock. Yeah, and you can see you've kind of got the half of the Union Jack in there as well, which is quite cool. Do like that. Home screen. So there's all your apps. Okay, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. Standard. And what's nice, although it kind of fits in this, it doesn't look like a square box that's tried to fit in a round hole like the previous generation cars are. This hole is the screen. It's all the screen. So these stay permanently here around the outside, and then in the middle is the bit that sort of changes for your apps or for your nav or for whatever you're sort of like having on. Yeah. So if you've got the navigation up, for instance, let's see, I can't find where we are because we're in the middle of a field, in the middle of nowhere here. But basically that'll be the map in the centre there, so those stay the same as the top and the bottom. It's augmented reality navigation as well. There's a head-up display, and on the head-up display it is mirroring the design of this. Oh, what did I do there? Oh, I don't know what I did there. But you see there, you can also have it as a speedo and a rev counter. And if you go through the various different experiences, so if I go, core is the standard one, green is the efficiency, so that's like eco, yeah? And it plays a wee tune, and then you get, it all grows a bit green, sorry, glows a bit green, and there's a wee hummingbird, and he flaps depending obviously on how efficient you're being. You go from there to vivid. I don't know what vivid does. I think it's just the stuff. It makes a weird noise. I think it is just sort of like the display changes colour. And from there you go timeless. This is a nice one. Look at this. So that's designed to mimic the design of the original Mini. So that's got this kind of sepia colour here with a kind of brown on it. I like that. That's nice. It's nice. And then you've got personal. So this is quite cool. So with the app, because it comes with the new Mini app, and there's a couple of things I'll talk about in that app, but if you want to put a picture of your kids up on there, you know, like you would on your computer, like have wallpaper on, you can do that, and that's what, you know, picture your dog, if you've got your own, I'd have a picture of my dog up there, I'd have Finley up there, picture of my wee dog, every time I got in the car, he'd be there, that'd be brilliant. And then from personal, you go balanced and trail, okay? Now your trail, it's not off-road, don't think of it, but it's, again, it's designed to look more like a sort of like an off-roading style of mode. There you go. And then balance, it's shutting the sunroof. Don't want it to do that. Okay, so that there is your driving modes. The last one is go-kart. Listen. Woohoo! So that's effectively sport mode, yeah? So it allows that more personalisation. That's what I was talking about outside. So that's what they're doing with Mini, and I love that. And they're really playing with it and making it very individual and really fun. And that's key, I think, with this car. So we're getting the character of Mini coming through in this car. So that is excellent. It's very clear, it's very easy to read. It's really well screwed on there. That ain't going to be moving as well. So that's excellent. Okay, so that's the screen. That's to talk about there. Right, we've got an armrest here. We've also in front got a little covered box, you know, for putting things in like your keys or your polo mints or stuff like that. That's in there. Does that slide? Oh, it does slide back. Yeah, that's a little box you can have in there. There's, as I say, rubber storage there. You've got your water bottle holders in there, which now are big enough for the Mini water bottles. My old car doesn't take the new Mini water bottles. Now the driving position is excellent. You do sit higher than you feel like you sit in my car. So when I've got my kind of driving position right, I do feel like I'm sitting up and I've got a good view. That squared off, chiseled look at the front means I can see the whole bonnet, and that display doesn't interrupt the base of the windscreen at all. So again, visibility out of the car is absolutely superb. Good sized door mirrors. You can see down the side of the car, and as I say, there's a load of parking cameras on the car. Is that it there? Oh no, that's to add things and shortcuts and stuff like that. How did I do? Oh, sugarty flip. Shouldn't have done that. There's the home button. There's your apps. Yeah, there we go. There, parking. Here we go. Parking cameras. So you can get a 360-degree view panorama of the car. Parking assistance, that's where you can trade it to tell you what you want to do. Yeah, there you go. It's probably not working because I've got the tailgate open. Okay, right. Let's talk about, sorry, and that's it. So the driving position is excellent. This has got sports seats. So I'm going to talk to you about the specs now because that's important to discuss. My only beef with the driving position, as I say, I just feel the steering wheel has gone a little bit thick. It's about the same thickness as my BMW iX2. No surprise there. It's probably the same wheel underneath. But it's a two-spoke, but the third spoke is this material strap. I really like that. I love the style of this. I love what they've done with the interior. It's different colour as well. This is blue, this leather, or leatherette interior, and I love it. It goes, I wouldn't put it with a green exterior, but actually when you see it, I quite like it. And it's got the orangey bit at the back. Let's talk about trim levels now. And I'm going to need a little bit of help with this because so I can tell you what's on this particular car, and I will discuss pricing of it a bit later. But basically what you have is you choose from two Countryman models. So it's either the Countryman E, which is the single motor car, or the Countryman SE, which is the all-four dual motor car. Okay, same size of battery, that's it. And then within those, once you've chosen that, you then have 3 trim levels to choose from. It's either classic, exclusive, or sport. Okay, so classic's your kind of base model, exclusive's a little bit more kind of luxury, maybe a bit more kind of funky in some ways, and then sport is, well, sport, that's what that is. And then onto that, you then add 3 different, or you can add 3 different option packs, level 1, level 2, or level 3, depending on what you want. When you go for, sorry, let me get the right page here. When you go for the exclusive model, there are certain things you get as standard. For instance, you know, like heated steering wheel, I think is standard on it. And also, here we go, standard equipment, heated steering wheel, roof rails, chilled ice fix. Oh, it's got an ice fix in the front passenger seat, eDrive Xperia sound, driving assist, active guard, park assistant, DAB radio, obviously the OLED screen, that type of thing, and the experiences modes. Okay, so that's all standard on the car, and then you add on your packs, your level 1, 2 or 3 that you want. Okay, so the exclusive model that this one is gets the sports steering wheel, the roof in black on the outside, the anthracite roof lining, the John Cooper Works sports seats, and exclusive trim content. Okay, and then on top of that, this particular car is a level 2 car. That gets comfort access, which is like, obviously we know when you approach it, you've got the key in your pocket, it just opens up. I'll discuss that in a wee second. There's something extra about that I want to discuss. Panoramic glass sunroof, luggage net, sun protection glass, folding wing mirrors with auto dimming, rear view mirror with auto dimming, heated seats in the front, adaptive LED headlights, high beam assist, driving assistance plus, Harman Kardon surround sound audio system, head-up display and storage for wireless charging. That there. Right, keys. That you can assign it a digital key. So although it has actually got, if I can go into my pocket when I've got this, a key, you know, a remote key, you can assign a digital key. So in other words, on the app on the phone. So when you've got your phone with you, that can unlock and unlock the car, and you can share that with other users. So for instance, at the moment, obviously with my car, I've got one key for me, one key for my wife. I could just share the digital key to her phone, to her Apple, her iPhone, and she would just be able to, she's got her phone with her, she can get access to the car. And I think it's 10 people you can do that with. So I don't know if I'd do it with 10 people, but you know what I mean? If you had, or if your son or daughter drove the car as well, or, you know, or your brother or sister, whatever, then at least you can share it, you know, with other people. So that's quite cool. The other thing that's quite cool with it is it has an interior camera. Now this is something that BMW do. So again, from the app, you could see if someone was inside, it would alert you if someone was in the car. So if someone broke into the car, you can take photographs of them. And it can also work as sort of like a dash cam as well. Now importantly, one of the guys asked a really significant question with that. Anything that it records only stores to your personal app. It isn't going into the cloud. So it's not, you know, BMW Mini don't have access to what you have. It's the same with your picture, your kids up there. So no one else has access to that. It is assigned to the car and your app, your Mini account. That's it. No one else can see it. So bear that in mind. But yeah, that's it. That's the interior of the new Countryman. I love it. I think it's brilliant. I love the materials. I love the sustainability message. That is brilliant to use. It's really simple to use. It looks a lot at first, but once you realise where everything is, it becomes second nature, and it's easy for the passenger to use. But it's a feeling of space inside the car by keeping it really simple. And as I said right at the introduction, can you add that Mini character into something that is a small crossover slash SUV? Certainly you can from the interior, and I think they've done really well with that. So as far as I'm concerned, this is a winner on the interior. I think it could be, I'll be bold here, my favourite interior of a car in this class. Yeah, I think it is. Oh. Right, let's talk about batteries now. There's one. Just the one. A 64.7 kilowatt hour battery, which is the same, that's usable capacity by the way, same as my BMW iX2. And that gives you a choice of two different ranges depending obviously on the car that you plump for. So if you go for something like this, Countryman E, which is the single motor car, then that is a 287 miles on the WLTP cycle, the combined cycle. If you plump for the Countryman SE, which is the dual motor all-wheel drive car, that drops to 269 miles as its WLTP range. So nothing outstanding, but on par for class, yeah? So you think about, in terms of usable sort of like range, you're probably looking at sort of like 225, 230 miles, you know, in roundabout roughly terms. That's pretty much what I'm getting out of my iX2. You know, a general kind of running around in these kind of sort of like warmer months, you know, from spring to sort of like through the summer. So if you think on that, that's roughly what, and mine's the dual motor car. So you might get up to sort of like 240 with the single motor car if you were being sort of like careful with it. Okay, so it gives you a good, hopefully a real world view of what this is going to be like. Charging speeds, 130 kilowatts on the DC charging, and that will allow a 10 to 80% charge in 29 minutes. It comes with a standard 11 kilowatt on-board charger as well, and there will be an option to take that up to a 22 kilowatt on-board charger if you have that. If, however, you're using your 7 kilowatt wall box, then you're looking at doing the completely flat to 100% in 10.5 hours. Now, wall boxes. Let's discuss wall boxes. If you're looking for a home charging unit, if this is your first foray into electric cars and you want a new sort of like a home wall box, then why don't you you don't want to stick some horrible plastic box on your wall. Take a look at Anderson EV, who are the proud supporters of AutoEV, and it's the wall box of my choice. It's what I'm installing in my home, and the reason for that is because I'm quite proud of the way my house looks, and I don't want to stick an ugly plastic box on the side of the wall. And the way the Anderson charger works is it's the only one that has the cable that integrates actually into the charger. You know, it all folds away nice and neatly. The other thing that's nice about it, because, you know, if I'm working late or something, I get home and I want to put the car on charge, it's got a motion sensor of the lights. So when you open it up, it lights up so you can see what you're doing in the dark as well. So it's very, very clever that way. The other thing about it, however, is just the way that it looks. You know, it's not, as I say, some plastic box. It's made of, you know, you've got a combination of different things you can have. You can have it made of aluminium, all aluminium, or aluminium and wood. There's even one that's been designed by Ian Callum, that, you know, the ex-Aston Martin Jaguar designer. He's designed one of the fascias for it. And you can choose from up to, I think it's about 240 different combinations you can have for your one. So it's really, really clever. Not only that, but it's not just aesthetics, but it's the technology that it works with. So it also works with a really clever app as well. And it will, you can take advantage of low-cost charging through the evening as well. So, you know, you're putting this car on to charge or something, that the app can tell you when the best time for it to actually start and stop charging to take benefit of your low-cost tariff. So that's the Anderson EV wall box. I say proud supporters of the AutoEV road test review. It's designed, it's built in Britain. You know, it's a UK company, and as I say, it's for people that love their home as much as their car, and it also comes with an industry-leading 7-year warranty. Right, out on the open road, how does the Countryman feel? Right, well, I think there's got to be two questions that we have to ask of this car. The first one is this: is it a good family crossover? Is it good for its class? Now, interestingly enough, I think sort of like the class of cars they used to be really easy to determine what kind of class of car was. You know, in my day, you know, you had a Fiesta, you had an Escort, you had a Sierra, whatever, and then obviously, you know, or a Nova, an Astra, a Cavalier. You know, they all fitted neatly into categories. I don't think you get that now. I think, you know, sort of like with crossovers and stuff, it all kind of blurs a little bit. The boundaries of classes are blurred a little bit. So as I said, you know, there are various different cars that you might see this competing with. So if we take it purely as a family all-electric crossover / SUV, that's the first question. Is it best in class? So is it better than, say, a Renault Scenic? Is it better than a Kia Niro EV? Is it better than a Nissan Ariya? You know, that type of thing. That's the first thing we've got to ask ourselves. Then the second thing we've got to ask ourselves is it a Mini? Does it fit with the brand of Mini? Does it feel like a Mini? So those are the two things I want to address with this review. But before we get there, let me just quickly give you the technical kind of details of the car. So I'm driving a single motor car here. So I've got a Countryman E. So that's a single motor front wheel drive car. And that puts out 215 brake horsepower. So it's not a slouch. You know, that's quick, you know, not 215 horsepower. Not to 60 is 8.6 seconds. Okay, not blisteringly fast, but it's, you know, on a par with where you would expect this type of car to be. I'd maybe have expected it to dip below the 8 seconds on the 0 to 60. But if you want that, then you've got to jump up to the SE, the all-4 model, which has the, by all means, by all accounts, it seems to be the running gear of my iX2, which is 313 horsepower, and the 0 to 60 time tumbles to 5.6 seconds. It'd be nice maybe something in between there, would it maybe been a sweet spot? Anyway, that's by the by. I purposefully wanted to drive this car, because because I think this will be the big seller in the range, the front wheel drive Countryman E, because genuinely speaking, I don't think you need much more than this, in fairness. It feels quicker than that 0 to 60 time suggests from sitting here. You know, you try the different experiences, or driving modes as we would call them. When you put it into the go-kart mode, where was it again? There you go, go-kart mode, and your wee man does his woohoo. There you go. And you put your foot down. I can't at the moment because there's a car in front of me, but you put your foot down. It feels quite sprightly. You know, it feels quite quick. And as I say, quicker than the numbers would have you believe. Does make that weird noise. I think you can maybe turn that off. Anyway, so yeah, so I think this is good enough in terms of its performance, but I can understand people may want more. Right, so let's go back to discussing whether or not it's best in class, or a front runner in the class. How does it drive? Well, it drives really nicely. The only thing that I'm not so keen on in terms of the driving position is the wheel. It's just, but it's the same with my iX2. It's got that thick BMW style wheel on it. I wish they hadn't gone down that route. I just wish they'd gone a slightly thinner rimmed steering wheel, because it feels just a bit too chunky to be, sort of like in my hand. I want a little bit more. I think the thickness is detracting from sort of like the communication of it. That's what I will say. So, but the steering itself is quite nice. It's very positive. It's like you turn in, as soon as you turn the wheel, there is a response from the front wheels. You do feel the car, in tighter turns. You do feel it kind of dig in. Obviously, it's front wheel drive, so you don't get sort of like you're not going to make a big power slides or anything silly like that. It's good. That's what I'm going to say. Is it best in class in terms of steering? No, it isn't. There are better cars than it, of course there are. And that's kind of where I'm coming from with a lot with Mini. So we'll just stop at some traffic lights here. And that's kind of where I'm at with the car a lot. There is elements of it that are exceptionally good. The driving position is lovely, apart from the steering wheel. So the actual seat itself, okay, these are the optional seats, but they hold you well. You sit high in the car, you do get that. I mean, there's a guy in front of a Fiesta, I can see over the top of his car. So it really is a Mini grown up. It really is a grown up car. It feels bigger than my car. It feels much more substantial. When I think about why we bought my car, because we still wanted a small car, yet as a second car in the family, because we've got a big Jeep Grand Cherokee. We wanted a smaller car in the family, but big enough to be practical. When I think about my other half, when she drives the Mini, she feels it's still quite a small, darty little car. I think if she drove this, I think she'd be quite surprised how big this feels. It's much more closer to her kind of Grand Cherokee in stature than it is to my Mini, and the way you kind of sit in the car. So that's what I would say about that. Pickup's nice. Okay, I'm still in go-kart mode, but throttle response is good. I wouldn't say it's the sharpest of throttles, and nor would I say it's the most feelsome of throttles. You put your foot down, it's there, but it's not electric. That noise is going to really wind me up a little bit. Brakes are good. Brakes got a nice positive feel. Feels very, very similar to my iX2, the way it drives. So there's a lot to compare with that in that sense. But the ride quality is better than my BMW. It's still a little bit bouncy. It's not floaty carpet. It's still a little bit bouncy, but nowhere near as uncomfortable as my iX2. And I'm getting used to that car, but this is nowhere near it. This is a much nicer car to live with than the BMW that I normally drive. So that's what I will say about that. So it's all gathering up to be very good. It's pretty much as we'd expect. Is it best in class? Probably not. I think in some respects, if you are, because bearing in mind this car with this spec is nigh on £50,000. I will talk about pricing, when we get back, but it's nigh on £50,000, and that's when you got to start to think to yourself, whoa, is there anything out there that could do it slightly better? And in terms of family crossover all electric SUVs, yeah, there is. And I'm being fair, as a Mini driver, that's what I'm saying. There are better cars out there for the money than this. So if you're approaching the car from, I just need to buy myself a family electric SUV crossover, I probably wouldn't put the Countryman at the top of your list. However, there's a second facet to this, and that's the second bit. Does it feel like a Mini? And the answer to that is yes. Yes, it does. As a Mini driver now for a number of years, I've had quite a few Minis. I can feel the Mini, oh, it's going to sound corny, but I'm going to say it, I can feel the Mini DNA in the car. God, I sound like a marketer's dream, you know what I mean? I can feel it, you know, that sort of like darty kind of feel, you know, as I say, the steering, that kind of quick response from the steering. The interior's lovely, you know, this feels like a Mini interior. It feels like it could only be from Mini, and I do like that, you know. So from the point of view as if you are a Mini customer and you want to stay in the brand, have Mini done enough for you to convince you that this is the car for you, as in you need to get a bigger car for your growing family and you love your Mini and you want to stay with them? Have they done enough? Yeah, I think they have. It's a good car. It's a good car. As I say, it's not best in class, but it is a very, very good Mini. Right, let's chat about price. Now, forgive the iPad and the sheet because there's quite a lot to discuss when it comes to the price of the car, but it's worthwhile going through it with you just so it's kind of clear. It's also because I'm getting old and I don't remember things. So basically, the first thing you do is you choose the Countryman you want. So this is a Countryman E, which is the single motor car. Okay, so that's your first choice. You either choose the E, which comes in at just around about £42,000, or the SE, which is the all-wheel drive, the all-4 in Mini speak, which is just over £47,000, £47,180, okay? Onto that, you then decide what sort of trim level you want. So you either go classic, exclusive or sport. Remember I was saying that in the interior. This one's an exclusive, so that then adds on £2,500 onto that price. So we're starting at 42 grand and we're adding on the £2,500. Then it has, you then choose the level of pack you want on it. There's no singular options. You choose the pack and it all comes together. So this is a level 2 car, which gets, as I said to you, comfort access, the panoramic roof, heated front seats, adaptive LED headlights, that type of thing. And that adds on another £5,000 onto the price. Okay, so we're going up now. And then it also has the further option on this car, which I'm right in thinking it has the metallic paint, and I can't even find it now. The metallic, here we go, the metallic paint, which is standard, British Racing Green, which is standard. No charge option, here we go. And the 19-inch Kaleido two-spoke design wheels, which is another £600. Okay, so all of that does add up, okay? Because the price of this car, starting at the £42,000, all of a sudden is now £49,600, okay? So 400 quid shy of 50 grand. Now you're gonna sit there and go, what a lot of money for a Mini. Stop thinking of it as a Mini in the sense of a singular car, okay? It's a Countryman, okay? And it's pretty much on a par with what you'd expect to spend within this class. Don't get me wrong, there are cheaper cars on it. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is, if you're sitting there thinking £50,000 for a Mini is a lot of money, it's £50,000 for a family-sized all-electric crossover. That's what you need to think about, okay? And obviously we're going to move on from that when we start now talking about the competition. And that competition, I think, is quite wide. I think it's quite varied, depending, obviously, again, on how you see the brand of Mini. Now, you can look at it and go, well, it's a similar size to Kia Niro EV, so that's maybe a car you're going to compare it to. And probably, yes, that's a car I would think is a relatively sensible sort of like choice of car in terms of, you know, a family, a mid-sized kind of family crossover that's all electric. The Kia Niro EV, although it is a lot less money than this particular car when it comes to spec for spec, and that offers quite good value for money, I think. But in terms of Mini being a brand, you might see it as a bit more prestigious, and you might see it even compete. Bear in mind what platform this sits on. It sits on the same platform as the BMW iX1, which starts at £50,000. So that could be a consideration. You might go, well, I'm not going to spend the money on an iX1. I'll spend less money on a really well-spec'd Mini because it's the same, and I can get much more equipment for my money, and dare I suggest be a little bit more distinctive. So maybe you might see it as a competitor for those type of cars, so that BMW iX1 Mercedes-Benz EQA, Audi Q4 e-tron, that style of car. But if you're seeing it as that kind of distinctive, quirky, stylish, kind of trendy kind of thing of Mini, then maybe you might also consider cars such as the Volvo EX30. That's a lot smaller than this car, in fairness. But maybe, as I say, in terms of its sort of like its trendiness, and I hate that word, but you know what I'm saying, that kind of more kind of style-orientated car, maybe something like the Volvo EX30. And of course, if you're looking at that, then you've also got to look at the smart #1 and maybe the #3. But as I say, in terms of the size, the okay interior size, but the boots are a lot smaller in those cars. So maybe the what do they call it now? The EX40 is maybe more along the lines of this car. So it depends how you see the brand, I think, as to how you'll see the competition for the Countryman. As I say, you might see it as the prestigious manufacturers from BMW, Audi, Mercedes, but you also might be looking at it in terms of volume competition, such as Kia, Skoda, Hyundai, Volvo, and of course Smart. So here's what we like, and what we don't like about the new MINI Countryman Electric. We like the spacious interior, and also the fact that the interior feels really special with good technology and connectivity with a strong sustainability message. There's a chance to personalise it just like a Mini should. And there's no getting away from the fact that it has that unmistakable Mini character. We don't like. Well, the styling's not going to be to everyone's taste. It gets quite pricey with options. And other cars do the family car thing better for less money. I came here today looking for the answers to two questions. The first question is this: does the MINI Countryman Electric make a good family crossover all-electric SUV, whatever you want to class it as? Is it best in its class? Is this the new class champion in that sort of, you know, sort of like 40 to 50,000 pound, early 50,000 pound bracket? And to that end, I'd have to say no. There are other cars in that class that do exactly what the Mini does, if not a little bit better, for a little bit less money. They go a bit further, they cost less money, they offer better value for money, they work better as a family car. It's not a bad car, it's a very good car. In fact, I'd put it very near the top of the class, but it's not best in class. But the second question was probably the one that I wanted to know the answer to a little bit more. As in, is that a Mini? Is it a car that, as a Mini driver, that I would want to then go out and buy? Would it keep me in the Mini brand? And if in some respects I wanted to get into the Mini brand but needed a big practical car, is there enough there to lure me in? And the answer to that question is very much yes. It feels like a proper Mini. As a Mini driver for a number of years now, I bought my first Mini back in 2004, a brand new Cooper hatchback. And I've had a Cooper S convertible and Cooper S hatches, and obviously the Countryman now. And that feels very much at home for me. Jumping in that car, I can feel the Mini-ness, if that makes sense, coming through it. I'll go one stage further and say this. I actually prefer that to my BMW iX2 long-term test car. The ride's nicer, the interior feels a bit more kind of special and quirky, and of course it still has all the tech and the build quality, and of course it's great to drive like a Mini should be. So from the point of view, is it the best small, compact, medium-sized electric SUV you can buy? No. But is it a proper Mini? Yes, very much so. Thank you for watching yet another episode of AutoEV. As always, please make sure that you are subscribed to the AutoEV channel. Then once you've done that, make sure you press the little bell button that's down below, because that's the way that you get notified when our next video is uploaded and it's gone live. If you have enjoyed the video, then of course make sure you give it a little thumbs up, and of course don't forget, leave me your comments down below. Let me know what you think about the new MINI Countryman. Are you like me? Have you got an old one, you know, the one in between this car and that car? Is that tempting you? Is it gone too much money? Is it too big? Is the styling not quite right for you? Please let me know your thoughts down below. Now remember, we're also across all social media as well, so Facebook, X, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, give us a follow there if you don't mind, because that does help the channel as well. And remember, if you're interested in combustion engine cars, then of course it's House of Cars, whereas they have already done a review of the Countryman, and it's sort of like it's JCW guys. So go and have a look at that one when you're ready to. Now maybe you're in the marketplace for an electric car. It might not be a new one, it might be a pre-owned one, and you need to know all there is to know about it. Then stay on the AutoEV YouTube channel, because there's now quite a number of videos where basically if there's been a new electric car entered the UK market in the last, I don't know, 5 or so years, then we'll have subjected it to the road test that actual car buyers trust when it comes to choosing their next electric car, the AutoEV one. And remember that the AutoEV road test review is brought to you in kind partnership with Anderson EV wall boxes, the premium British designed and built wall box charger. If you love your home as much as you love your car, you don't want to be sticking an ugly plastic box on the side of it. So Anderson EV is the place to have a look at, see what they can offer you. Certainly when it comes to the style of something like the Mini, it sits perfectly with that. All that remains for me to say is thank you once again for watching. Thank you for continuing to support AutoEV. I'll see you again soon.